Good morning, everyone. Today, we will learn the design of infinite impulse response filters, IIR filters, using various methods. I've given in your syllabus. There are two methods given in your syllabus for the design of IIR filters. The first one is the impulse invariance method, and the second one is the bilinear transformation method. Okay. So these two methods we will study, but before that, I'll be sharing my screen as usual. And when I'll be telling to follow the note, only then please follow the note. Okay. Otherwise, in other times, please listen. And if you want, you can note down also in your copy. I'll be telling very slowly. I'll be explaining it, and accordingly do what I say. Yeah. So now I'm sharing my screen. Okay. So I think all of you are able to see here. You see the heading is given, design of IIR filters using impulse invariance. So this impulse invariance is basically a method. Now, what is this method? Let us know. Okay, first listen what I say. Then when I'll be telling you to follow the note is there in front of you. I'll be giving it later on also, so you can have it, no problem. You see, this impulse invariance method is a technique for digitizing an analog filter. Okay, means for converting an analog filter to a digital filter. This is a method. This is a technique. That is, describe if you want the way it is to design a digital filter from an analog. Here. Now, on what technique is this? Is it based upon? So this technique is based on the fact that impulse response of the resulting digital filter is a sampled version of the impulse response of the analog filter. Okay. So impulse invariance method means the impulse is not varying. Okay. So what is that? That is nothing but the impulse response of the resulting digital filter. Means you are changing from analog to digital filter. Clear? So the digital filter that you are changing into, that digital filter's impulse response is just a sampled version of the impulse response of the analog filter. Means analog से digital change कर रहे हैं. So analog filter का जो digital जो impulse response है और digital filter का जो resulting digital filter का जो हमारा impulse response है, both will be equal. Means it is just a sampled form. The digital filter's impulse response is just a sampled form of the analog filter's impulse response. Clear? Okay. Thus, the frequency response of the digital filter is an aliased version of the frequency response of the corresponding analog filter. Clear? Aliased version means sampled version. Okay. So now you can follow the note. So let Hn be the unit sample response of IIR filter. Now, Z transform of Hn is related to Laplace transform of Ht. How? Such that Hz at z equal to e to the power st equal to 1 by t summation k equal to minus infinity to infinity Ha into s plus j 2 pi k by ts. I'll be explaining all the terms. S is nothing but sigma plus j omega. Okay, and this t suffix s is the sampling interval. Okay, now Hz is obviously summation of n equal to 0 to infinity Hn into z to the power minus n, where n equal to 0, 1, 2. And from the first equation, you see h suffix a. This HA is the analog transfer function. Okay, analog transfer. HA is nothing but analog transfer function. Clear? Now, how this S plane and Z plane are related. S plane means frequency plane. Okay, S plane means frequency plane. Now, how this S plane and Z plane are related? You see, it's written S plane and Z plane are related by Z equal to e to the power sigma plus j omega into t. Why? Because Z equal to e to the power st. Now, S is sigma plus j omega, so I've just replaced the value of S here. Now, if you split it, Z equal to e to the power sigma t into e to the power j omega t. Here. Now, this e to the power sigma t is R. Okay, e to the power sigma t is nothing but R. And omega t is denoted by that W, that is omega. Ohm, the symbol that is ohm into T is denoted by omega. Clear? So R into e to the power j omega. Clear of all? So where this ohm symbol, it's nothing but the analog frequency. You see, as I mentioned, and omega is nothing but the digital frequency. Okay. Ohm is the analog frequency and omega is the digital frequency. Okay. Now you can notice in my note, I have drawn a diagram, and below the diagram, I have given heading as the relation between S plane and Z plane. Okay. So you see, on the left side, the Z plane is shown, and on the right side, the S plane is shown. And in the Z plane, the circle that I have drawn is the unit circle. Clear? And I have correlated with the S plane. Okay. Now again, listen, don't follow the note. Now I'll be telling what related to note. I'll be telling introduction of this diagram. You see, I told that R equal to e to the power sigma t. That I've just considered. Consider R equal to, R is a variable, obviously. So R equal to e to the power sigma t. Now, a point on the j omega axis in the S plane, you see, in the S plane, in the j omega axis is characterized by sigma equal to 0. You see, there is a point called sigma equal to 0, isn't it? So thus this point is mapped to a point on the unit circle in the Z plane as mod Z equal to 1. Means the equivalent of this point in the Z plane is denoted by mod Z equal to 1. Okay. Thus we can say that if sigma equal to 0, then R equal to 1. Obviously, because R equal to e to the power sigma t. So if sigma is 0, then R will be e to the power 0. That means R will be 1. Similarly, a point in the left half S plane, left half of the S plane, S plane's left half will be characterized by sigma less than 0. Okay. The corresponding point on the Z plane has magnitude mod Z less than or equal to 1. Thus, if sigma less than 0, then R will be greater than 0, less than 1. If sigma less than 0, then R will be greater than 0, less than 1. Okay. Small r, which is e to the power sigma t. So this indicates that the point is mapped inside the unit circle. Lastly, if sigma greater than 0, so it will be representing a point on the right half of the S plane, and that is mapped onto a point outside the unit circle, mod Z greater than 1. Thus, the left half plane in S plane is mapped inside the unit circle, and the right half is mapped outside the unit circle. Okay. So basically, I told you three conditions at sigma equal to 0, at sigma less than 0, at sigma greater than 0. So these three conditions correspond to the drawing, the graphical drawing that I have drawn on my note. So if you follow the note, you can see it. Okay, now I'm going to come to the note. Now let us consider the transform that maps all points in S-plane given by S equal to sigma plus j omega plus j 2 pi k by t. Now what is k? K is 0 plus minus 1 plus minus 2, whatever. Onto a single point in Z-plane given by Z equal to e to the power st. Now what is S? S is obviously sigma plus j omega plus j 2 pi k by t. So if you split it, it will turn out to be e to the power omega t into e to the power, e to the power sigma t into e to the power j ohm t into e to the power 2 pi k. But you see, e to the power 2 pi k is 1. Okay, so therefore, z will be e to the power sigma t into e to the power j ohm t. Clear? Now, let us map the j ohm axis on unit circle given by omega equal to ohm t. You see, I have mapped already j ohm axis, S-plane, basically. Now, omega will be unique over the range. What will be the range of omega where it will be unique? It will be unique over the range minus pi to pi. Isn't it? Minus pi to pi. You see? And thus the mapping omega equal to ohm t means that the strip of width 2 pi by t in S-plane for the value of S in the range minus 3 pi by t less than equal to ohm less than pi by t is mapped in the entire Z-plane as minus pi less than equal to omega less than equal to pi. And the strip of width 2 pi by t in S-plane for S in the range pi by t less than equal to ohm less than equal to 3 pi by t is mapped in entire Z-plane. So in general, what can we say? This is not so important because it is related to the diagram, basically. It is related to the diagram. So in general, you should know the general formula. So what is the general formula? The general formula is, in general, we can say that we can map S in the range 2k minus 1 into pi by 2 less than equal to ohm less than equal to 2k plus 1 into pi by t. Okay, so this is the actual general formula. You place the value of k, you get your required answer. Clear? So now, before coming to the note, again, listen a bit. This 2k minus 1 into pi by t less than equal to ohm less than equal to 2k plus 1 into pi by t. What does it indicate? What does it show? It shows that the mapping from the analog frequency ohm to the digital frequency omega is many to 1. Okay, it shows that mapping from analog frequency ohm to digital frequency omega is many to 1. You see, there are many codomain, only one domain. Clear? So it's many to 1 function. The portion of each strip in the left half S-plane maps into the interior of unit circle. The right half portion of each strip in S-plane maps into the exterior of the unit circle in the Z-plane. Okay. Okay, now I can come to the note. See, now let us express the system function of analog filter in partial fraction form to determine the effect of impulse invariance design method on resulting filter. Okay, now we will be actually coming to the point that we were talking about, impulse invariance method. Yeah. So you see HAS equal to summation of k equal to 1 to n Ck by S minus Pk. So what is Pk? This mod Pk are the poles of analog filter, and Ck is what? Coefficients of partial fraction expansion. Yeah. Now what will be the impulse response of HAS? Obviously the HAS impulse response will be HAT. So HAT is equal to summation k equal to 1 to n Ck into e to the power p suffix k into t into UA t. Now what is this UA? UA is the continuous time step function. Okay. Now if we sample HAT at t equal to nt, clear, then what will the expression of HAT, means equation 7, turn out to be? It will be Hn, which will be equal to HA of nt, and that will be equal to summation of k equal to 1 to n Ck e to the power Pk into nt. I have written it Tn because I forgotten to write n. Okay, so same thing, Tn nt into UA of nt. Now the system function Hz is the Z transform of the sequence given by Hz equal to Z of Hn, which is equal to in summation of n equal to 0 to infinity Hn into Z to the power minus n. That you know already. We have completed the Z transform chapter previously. So Hz, what it will be turn out? It will be turning out as summation of k equal to 1 to n Ck by 1 minus e to the power p suffix k into t into Z to the power minus 1. Now if we ask what are the poles of the digital filter here? So the digital filter's poles are Zk equal to e to the power e suffix k into t. Now if you compare equation 6 and 9, you see equation 6, what it was? It was the first equation. You see this one. This is the equation 6. Okay. This is the equation 6. And this is equation 9. So if you compare these two, then we find the impulse invariance transform given by 1 by S minus Pk coming out as 1 by e to 1 minus e to the power Pk into t into Z to the power minus 1, or 1 by S plus Pk will be turning out as 1 by 1 minus e to the power minus p suffix k into t. Clear? So this is the impulse invariance, means the impulse of the analog filter is sampled into the impulse of the digital filter. Okay, this was the impulse of the analog filter initially, and now the transformed impulse of the digital filter is turning out to be this. Clear? So that's what the name suggests as impulse invariance technique for designing of IIR filters into digital filters. Now come to a problem. You see, convert the analog filter with system function HAS equal to S plus 2 by S plus 1 into S plus 3 into IIR filter by impulse invariance method. Okay, so first this function will be partial fraction expansion. We'll be doing partial fraction expansion. So HAS equal to, doing partial fraction expansion, we have got half by S plus 1 plus half by S plus 3. Okay. So the way you do partial fraction, same thing. Now equation 10, 1 by S minus Pk turning out to be 1 by 1 minus e to the power Pk into t into Z to the power minus 1. So using equation 10, we get Hz will be equal to half into, you see, half of the coefficients of partial fraction expansion, Ck here. So half into 1 by S plus 1. So S plus 1, how will you express it into digital form? It will be expressed as 1 by 1 minus e to the power minus t into Z to the power minus 1 plus half into, means half I have taken common initially. So 1 by S plus 3. So how will you express S plus 3? 1 by 1 minus e to the power minus 3t into z to the power minus 1. Here, okay. So it is s plus 1 and s plus 3. Means I have done just the digital z transform of those s plus 1 and s plus 3. Clear? Now, just I have simplified it some more, and you see half into 2 minus z inverse of e to the power minus 3t plus e to the power minus t. I have taken the LCM basically, and by taking LCM, I have just done it. So then in the third step, half into 2 minus z inverse into from e to the power minus 3t plus e to the power minus t, I have taken e to the power minus 2t common. So it comes out as e to the power t plus e to the power minus t inside. Okay. So denominator is same. Now in the last step, you see, I have omitted half, and the result comes out to be 1 minus z inverse e to the power minus 2t into cos hyperbolic t by denominator is same, 1 minus e to the power minus t into z to the power minus 1 into 1 minus e to the power minus 3t into z to the power minus 1. Actually, if you don't come to the last step also, if you go till this step, it is enough. But if you want, you can simplify. Otherwise, no need. Actually, what is cos hyperbolic t? Cos hyperbolic t is e to the power t plus e to the power minus t whole divided by 2. So I've just replaced it, and I've got this answer. That's all. So if you don't write this step, if you come till this step only, then also you'll be getting marks. No problem. Okay. So this is what about impulse invariance method for design of IIR filters from analog filters. Yeah. So one problem also I've given. Thank you.